In a brightly lit community auditorium in Cleveland, Ohio, the air buzzed with a mix of curiosity and quiet chatter. On stage, Dr. Daniel Moore, a renowned geriatric nutritionist with a warm, reassuring presence, adjusted the microphone. The audience, mostly composed of vibrant individuals in their golden years, settled in their seats. "Good morning," Dr. Moore began, his voice calm yet carrying a note of urgency. "I want to ask you a question. What if the one appliance you trust most in your kitchen, your refrigerator, is silently ruining your health every single day?" A few murmurs rippled through the crowd. He paused, letting the thought sink in. It sounds impossible, doesn't it? But hidden inside that cold box are 9 common foods that react negatively to refrigeration in ways most seniors never hear about. This isn't just about taste or texture. It's about dangerous chemical changes, nutrient loss, and bacterial growth triggered by cold storage. He clicked a remote, and a stark statistic appeared on the screen behind him. Here's the scary part. Over 99% of people over 60 still refrigerate these foods, completely unaware of the damage it's doing to their gut, their heart, and even their brain. Some experts, myself included, now believe our modern obsession with refrigeration may be a contributing factor to the rise in chronic illnesses. But today, he continued, his tone shifting from warning to empowerment, we uncover the real science. I'm going to reveal the 9 foods you should never refrigerate and the simple truth about how to store them safely. And wait until you hear about number 2 on our list. It might shock you the most. Every point I make today is backed by peer-reviewed studies from respected institutions. Number 9. Potatoes. Let's start with a staple of the American diet, Dr. Moore said. Potatoes. Here's something that might shock you. When you put potatoes in your refrigerator, you're literally creating a toxic compound. I'm not exaggerating. The cold temperature converts the potato starches into sugars through a process called cold-induced sweetening. This isn't just about taste. When you cook these refrigerated potatoes at high temperatures like frying or roasting, those sugars combine with an amino acid to form acrylamide. The International Agency for Research on Cancer classifies acrylamide as a probable human carcinogen. He pointed to a graph on the screen. A study from the University of Idaho found that potatoes stored at refrigerator temperatures showed a 300% increase in sugar content within just 2 weeks. That's triple the amount of sugar, and it happens faster than you might think. The researchers tested over 500 potato samples, and the results were consistent across all varieties. The texture changes too. Cold temperatures break down the cell structure, making your potatoes gritty and unpleasantly sweet. Ever wonder why your mashed potatoes sometimes taste off? Now you know. The refrigerator is destroying them at a cellular level. So, how should you store them? Keep them in a cool, dark place, around 45 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit. A pantry, cellar, or even a cardboard box in a closet works perfectly. The key is darkness. Light triggers the production of solanine, that's the green stuff that makes potatoes toxic. Yes, toxic. Store them in a paper bag or a basket that allows air circulation. Never use plastic bags. They trap moisture and cause rotting. And here's a pro tip most people don't know. Store your potatoes away from onions. Both vegetables release gases that make the other spoil faster. Keep them at least 3 feet apart. With proper storage, potatoes can last up to 3 months. In the fridge, they'll be ruined in 2 weeks. Number 8. Bread. This next one surprises everyone, Dr. Moore announced. Bread. Your refrigerator is actually making your bread go stale faster. It sounds backwards, but the science is clear. Refrigeration accelerates a process called starch retrogradation. That's a fancy term for when starch molecules crystallize and push out moisture. Researchers at the Institute of Food Technologists discovered that bread stored at refrigerator temperatures stales 6 times faster than bread kept at room temperature. 6 times. He let the number hang in the air. They measured the firmness of breadcrumbs over time and found that refrigerated bread became hard and crumbly in just 3 days. Room temperature bread stayed fresh for a full week. The cold also destroys the bread's natural flavor, compounds those volatile organic compounds that give fresh bread its amazing smell. They break down rapidly in the cold. Your taste buds aren't lying when refrigerated bread tastes like cardboard. The best way to store bread is in a bread box or a paper bag at room temperature. The container should allow some air circulation to prevent mold while maintaining enough humidity to keep the bread soft. If you can't finish a loaf within a week, here's what you do. Slice it first, then freeze it. Freezing actually preserves bread better than refrigeration because it happens so quickly that large ice crystals don't have time to damage the structure. When you need a slice, just pop it directly from the freezer into the toaster. It'll taste almost as good as fresh. The key is going straight from freezer to toaster. Don't let it thaw first. That's when moisture problems start. Number 7. Honey. Next, we have honey, perhaps nature's most perfect food. It literally never spoils. Archaeologists have found 3,000-year-old honey in Egyptian tombs that was still edible. But put it in your refrigerator, and you'll ruin it in weeks. Cold temperatures cause honey to crystallize rapidly. This isn't dangerous, but it changes everything about it. The smooth, golden liquid turns into a grainy, hard mass that won't dissolve properly. More importantly, refrigeration can introduce moisture into your honey jar. Every time you open that cold jar, condensation forms. That moisture is honey's greatest enemy. A study from the National Honey Board found that honey stored at temperatures below 50 degrees Fahrenheit loses up to 35% of its antimicrobial properties. Those are the compounds that make honey a natural antibiotic. Ancient civilizations used honey to treat wounds because of these properties. Your refrigerator is destroying them. The flavor profile changes too. Honey contains over 180 different compounds that create its complex taste. Cold storage causes these compounds to break down unevenly. Your expensive raw honey starts tasting like cheap corn syrup. Store honey at room temperature in a tightly sealed container. The ideal temperature is between 64 and 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Keep it away from direct sunlight, which can degrade its quality. If your honey does crystallize, don't throw it out. Simply place the jar in a bowl of warm water and stir gently. It will return to its liquid form without losing its beneficial properties. And here's something most people don't know. The color of honey indicates its antioxidant content. Darker honey contains more antioxidants, but refrigeration affects dark honey more severely than light honey. Those precious antioxidants are particularly vulnerable to cold temperatures. Number 6. Coffee. Coffee lovers, brace yourselves, Dr. Moore said with a wry smile. That expensive bag of coffee you're storing in the refrigerator? You're destroying it. The refrigerator is coffee's worst enemy. Here's why. Coffee beans are incredibly porous. They absorb odors and flavors from everything around them. Your refrigerator is full of smells from last night's leftover Chinese food, that forgotten piece of cheese, and who knows what else. Your coffee is soaking it all up like a sponge. That's why your morning brew might taste a little weird. But odor absorption is just the beginning. The constant temperature fluctuations in your refrigerator create condensation on the beans. This moisture triggers premature aging and can even cause mold growth. A study from the Specialty Coffee Association found that refrigerated coffee beans lose 60% of their aromatic compounds within just 1 week. The oils in coffee beans, which contain most of the flavor, solidify in cold temperatures. When you grind cold beans, these solidified oils don't extract properly during brewing. You're left with weak, flavorless coffee that tastes nothing like it should. The proper way to store coffee is in an airtight, opaque container at room temperature. Opaque is crucial because light degrades coffee quality. The ideal storage temperature is between 60 and 70 degrees. Buy coffee in small quantities that you'll use within 2 weeks. Once you open a bag, the clock starts ticking. If you absolutely must store coffee long term, the freezer is better than the refrigerator. But there's a catch. You can only freeze it once. Divide your coffee into weekly portions in airtight bags, and only take out what you need. Never refreeze coffee. The moisture damage is irreversible. Number 5. Garlic. Putting garlic in the refrigerator is a disaster waiting to happen, Dr. Moore stated plainly. Not only does it lose its potency, but it can actually become dangerous. This matters, especially for those of us who rely on garlic's health benefits. When garlic is stored in the refrigerator, it begins to sprout. Those green shoots aren't just unsightly, they're bitter and can cause digestive upset. But that's not the worst part. The moist, cold environment can trigger the growth of mold on garlic. Some of these molds produce mycotoxins, which are seriously harmful compounds. Research from the University of California, Davis, showed that refrigerated garlic loses 50% of its allicin content within 10 days. Allicin is the compound that gives garlic its powerful medicinal properties. It's what makes garlic antibacterial, antiviral, and beneficial for heart health. By refrigerating it, you're literally throwing away half its benefits. The texture suffers too. Cold temperatures break down garlic's cell walls, making it mushy and impossible to chop. Ever try to mince refrigerated garlic? It turns into a paste that sticks to everything. Store whole garlic heads in a cool, dry place with good air circulation, like a mesh bag or basket, around 60 to 65 degrees. Never store it in plastic. It needs to breathe. With proper storage, a whole head of garlic can last up to 6 months. Once you break the head open, use the cloves within 10 days for the best quality. And here's a tip that will change your cooking. Room temperature garlic releases its flavors more readily than cold garlic. Your dishes will taste noticeably better. Number 4. Bananas. Bananas in refrigerators are a match made in disaster, he said, clicking to a slide showing a blackened banana. Put a banana in the fridge, and you watch it turn into a black, mushy mess. But the damage goes way deeper than just appearance. The cold temperature causes what scientists call chilling injury. Bananas are tropical fruits. Their cells literally can't handle the cold. The cell membranes rupture, enzymes leak out, and the fruit begins breaking down from the inside out. A study from the Queensland Department of Agriculture found that bananas stored below 56 degrees Fahrenheit lose 80% of their vitamin C content within 5 days. They also stop producing new nutrients. Refrigeration halts the natural ripening process completely. That black skin indicates that the fruit's natural defense mechanisms have failed. The brown spots are areas where the fruit tissue has died, and that dead tissue can harbor bacteria and mold. Store bananas at room temperature. Hang them on a banana hook to prevent bruising. To slow ripening, separate the bunch and wrap each stem in plastic wrap. This reduces ethylene gas release by up to 40%. Once bananas reach your perfect ripeness, you can refrigerate them for 1 or 2 days, max. The skin will blacken, but the inside stays okay. Better yet, peel and freeze them for smoothies. Frozen bananas actually create a creamier texture without needing ice. Number 3. Onions. Storing whole onions in the refrigerator might be the biggest mistake people make. The damage is immediate and irreversible. The humidity in your refrigerator is typically around 95%. Onions need 65% humidity or less. That excess moisture penetrates the onion's papery outer layers and creates the perfect environment for mold growth. Black mold on onions can produce aflatoxins, which are some of the most carcinogenic substances known to science. But even before mold appears, the cold temperature converts the onion's starches into sugars. A study from a Texas university found that refrigerated onions showed a 270% increase in sugar content after 2 weeks. This completely changes their flavor and cooking properties. Your French onion soup will taste like dessert. The texture becomes soft and mushy because ice crystals rupture the cells. Once this happens, the onion loses its ability to caramelize properly. Those beautiful golden brown onions you see in restaurants? Impossible with refrigerated onions. Store whole onions in a cool, dry, well-ventilated space, like a pantry, in a mesh bag or basket. And as I mentioned with potatoes, keep them far apart. However, once you cut an onion, everything changes. Cut onions should be stored in the refrigerator in an airtight container and used within 7 days. Number 2. Tomatoes. Dr. Moore paused, taking a sip of water. And now, he said, leaning slightly over the lectern, we've reached the food that will shock you the most: tomatoes. The truth about refrigerating tomatoes is so disturbing that many people refuse to believe it. But the science is undeniable. Researchers at the University of Florida made a groundbreaking discovery. Refrigeration doesn't just affect tomato texture and taste, it actually turns off their genes. The room was silent. Specifically, he explained, the genes responsible for producing flavor compounds. Once these genes shut down, they never fully recover. Even if you let the tomato warm up, the damage is permanent. The study examined over 25,000 genes in tomatoes and found that temperatures below 54 degrees deactivated hundreds of them. The tomato literally stops being a tomato at the genetic level. It becomes a red water balloon with little nutritional value. Here's where it gets really serious for us. Tomatoes are one of the best sources of lycopene, a powerful antioxidant that protects against heart disease and certain cancers. Cold storage reduces lycopene availability by up to 65%. But it's worse than that. Lycopene needs to be paired with certain enzymes to be absorbed by your body. Refrigeration destroys these enzymes completely, so even the remaining 35% becomes useless. The texture destruction is visible under a microscope, as ice crystals shred the cellular structure from the inside, which is why they become mealy and grainy. So please, store your tomatoes at room temperature stem side down. This prevents moisture from entering through the stem scar. Keep them out of direct sunlight but in indirect light. Never store them in plastic bags. A ripe tomato should be used within 3 to 5 days. If you have too many, make a sauce and freeze that. Cooked tomato products actually have more available lycopene, and freezing preserves it perfectly. Number 1. Avocados. We've saved perhaps the most important for last, Dr. Moore concluded. Avocados. What happens to avocados in the refrigerator should be criminal. The destruction is so complete, so devastating, that it makes all the other foods seem like minor issues. Avocados contain over 20 essential nutrients, including healthy fats crucial for brain health. Refrigeration destroys these fats through a process called lipid peroxidation. The cold temperature causes the fats to oxidize rapidly, creating harmful free radicals instead of beneficial nutrients. Stanford University researchers discovered that refrigerated avocados lose 90% of their antioxidant activity within 4 days. 90%! These antioxidants, like vitamins E and C, are what make avocados so valuable for aging bodies. But here's the truly shocking part. The cold temperature triggers an enzyme, polyphenol oxidase, that actively destroys the fruit from within, breaking down cell walls and converting healthy compounds into bitter, potentially harmful substances. Those smooth, creamy avocados turn into stringy, watery disappointments. Store unripe avocados at room temperature on your counter. To speed ripening, place them in a paper bag with a banana. Once ripe, you can refrigerate them for a maximum of 2 to 3 days if absolutely necessary, but the quality loss is significant. If you cut an avocado and can't use it all, keep the pit in the unused half, brush the flesh with lemon juice, and store it in an airtight container with a piece of onion. The sulfur from the onion prevents browning. Dr. Moore stepped back from the podium, his expression earnest. The truth about refrigeration has been hidden for too long. These 9 foods represent thousands of dollars in wasted groceries and immeasurable lost nutrition. More importantly, they represent missed opportunities for better health in our golden years. Every nutrient counts. Don't let your refrigerator sabotage your efforts. Store these foods properly and reclaim their full nutritional power. He smiled warmly at the attentive audience. Your body deserves nothing less than the best, and now you know how to provide it. Now, I'd like to hear from you. Which of these foods shocked you the most? Have you been refrigerating it for years without knowing the damage? Hands shot up across the auditorium, and a lively discussion began.